Welcome to Iraqi Dinar News, where you receive real and authentic updates about the Iraqi dinar. If you want to stay informed with moment-by-moment developments, make sure to subscribe to the channel and like the video. Today's discussion focuses on an important development, attracting attention from observers of Iraq's economy, government reforms, and the future direction of the Iraqi dinar. Reports surrounding the Iraqi Prime Minister's July 13th visit to Washington have generated considerable discussion across financial communities. While some online sources have described the trip using dramatic language and suggested that it could immediately trigger a major monetary reset, it is important to examine these developments carefully, objectively, and within the broader economic context. When analyzing any major event involving Iraq, investors and followers of the Iraqi dinar should separate confirmed developments from speculation. Diplomatic visits between national leaders are significant because they often involve discussions related to economic cooperation, investment opportunities, security coordination, banking reforms, trade and international partnerships. However, history has consistently shown that major economic reforms usually develop over time through policy implementation, rather than through a single meeting or announcement. The reported visit reflects Iraq's continued effort to strengthen its international relationships, while advancing domestic reforms that have been underway for several years. This combination of diplomatic engagement and internal reform is far more important than any headline suggesting an overnight transformation. Stable economic growth depends on consistent policy execution, institutional development, financial transparency, and investor confidence. One of the most important aspects of Iraq's current strategy is its increasing engagement with major international partners. As Iraq seeks to diversify its economy beyond oil revenues, maintaining constructive relationships with global financial institutions and strategic allies becomes increasingly important. Meetings at the highest governmental levels often provide opportunities to discuss investment cooperation, infrastructure development, technology transfer, banking modernization, energy projects, and regional stability. For followers of the Iraqi dinar, these discussions matter because economic strength ultimately provides the foundation for a stronger and more stable national currency. Exchange rates are influenced by many factors, including inflation, foreign exchange reserves, trade balances, investor confidence, monetary policy, fiscal discipline, and overall economic productivity. Diplomatic engagement supports these broader objectives by encouraging international cooperation rather than directly determining currency values. Another significant point mentioned in today's report is Iraq's continued focus on domestic economic reform. Over the past several years, Iraqi authorities have repeatedly emphasized the importance of reducing corruption, improving financial governance, strengthening public institutions, and increasing transparencies across government operations. These reforms are designed not only to improve public services, but also to create a more attractive environment for domestic and foreign investment. Reducing corruption remains one of the most challenging but necessary components of Iraq's long-term economic strategy. Every dollar recovered through anti-corruption initiatives represents resources that can potentially be redirected toward infrastructure, education, healthcare, industrial development, and modernization of government services. More importantly, successful anti-corruption measures help improve international confidence in Iraq's financial system. International investors generally evaluate countries based on stability, regulatory consistency, transparency, and legal protections. Progress in these areas can gradually improve Iraq's reputation within global financial markets. While these improvements do not guarantee any immediate changes to the value of the Iraqi dinar, they contribute to a stronger macroeconomic environment over time. The reference to financial modernization is another topic deserving careful attention. Around the world, governments are modernizing payment systems, expanding electronic banking, improving financial inclusion, enhancing digital payment infrastructure, and strengthening banking supervision. Iraq has also announced various initiatives aimed at modernizing its financial sector through improved banking technology and regulatory reforms. Modern banking systems increase efficiency, reduce transaction costs, improve tax collection, limit opportunities for corruption, and enhance financial transparency. These developments can support economic growth by making it easier for businesses and consumers to participate in the formal financial system. As banking services improve, businesses gain greater access to financing, investment becomes more efficient, and economic activity becomes more organized. For Iraqi Dinar followers, financial modernization is an encouraging structural development because a healthy banking sector supports broader economic stability. Nevertheless, modernization should be viewed as a long-term reform process rather than a signal of immediate currency appreciation. One of the recurring themes surrounding Iraq's economic future is diversification. Oil continues to generate the majority of Iraq's government revenue, making the economy highly sensitive to fluctuations in global energy prices. Iraqi policymakers have repeatedly expressed the goal of expanding agriculture, manufacturing, tourism, logistics, technology, and private sector investment to reduce dependence on hydrocarbons. Diversification strengthens an economy by creating multiple sources of income and employment. A diversified economy is generally more resilient during periods of volatility in commodity markets. If Iraq successfully expands non-oil sectors over the coming years, it could strengthen fiscal stability and support sustainable economic development. This is particularly important because currency stability depends not only on foreign exchange reserves but also on productive economic activity. Countries with broader industrial and commercial sectors typically possess greater resilience during periods of external economic stress. Another important area frequently discussed during international meetings involves foreign direct investment. International investors seek predictable regulatory environments, secure investment conditions, reliable legal systems, and efficient financial institutions. Diplomatic engagement can help encourage investment by demonstrating Iraq's commitment to reform and international cooperation. Increased investment supports employment, technology transfer, infrastructure development, and economic expansion. Large-scale projects in transportation, energy, telecommunications, housing, manufacturing, and logistics have the potential to generate lasting economic benefits. These developments can gradually improve productivity and strengthen the country's long-term economic outlook. For those monitoring the Iraqi dinar, it is important to understand that stronger economic fundamentals generally contribute to greater currency stability over time. However, exchange rate policy remains under the authority of Iraq's monetary institutions, which carefully evaluate inflation, liquidity, financial stability, and broader macroeconomic conditions before making policy decisions. Another reason today's developments have attracted attention is because Iraq continues expanding its diplomatic role within the region and internationally. Constructive engagement with neighboring countries and major global economies can improve trade opportunities, energy cooperation, infrastructure connectivity, and regional economic integration. Regional cooperation often creates opportunities for expanded commerce and cross-border investment. Greater trade activity increases demand for financial services, transportation networks, logistics infrastructure, and industrial production. These developments contribute to long-term economic growth. It is equally important to recognize that Iraq has already achieved significant progress compared with previous decades. Security improvements, infrastructure reconstruction, banking reforms, digital government initiatives, and fiscal management have gradually strengthened the country's institutional capacity. While challenges certainly remain, many international organizations have acknowledged measurable improvements across several economic indicators. The report also mentions recoveries from corruption, which deserve careful consideration. Recovering public funds demonstrates increasing institutional capability and government commitment to accountability. Although these efforts alone cannot transform the economy overnight, they send positive signals regarding governance and financial oversight. Governance quality matters because businesses require confidence that contracts will be enforced, regulations applied fairly, and financial systems managed responsibly. Improved governance encourages entrepreneurship, investment, and long-term planning. For Iraqi citizens, successful reforms can contribute to better employment opportunities, improved infrastructure, enhanced public services, and stronger economic resilience. For international observers, these reforms represent progress toward creating a more stable investment environment. One important point that deserves emphasis is the distinction between political developments and monetary policy. While government initiatives influence the overall economy, decisions regarding exchange rate policy are generally made through established monetary frameworks designed to preserve financial stability. Responsible monetary authorities prioritize inflation control, reserve management, banking stability, and sustainable economic growth. Because of this, viewers should approach dramatic claims about immediate currency changes with caution. Responsible financial analysis focuses on confirmed policy announcements rather than speculation. Long-term economic progress is typically driven by structural reforms, productivity improvements, institutional strengthening, and consistent policy implementation. Short-term market sentiment can fluctuate whenever major diplomatic visits occur. Investors often evaluate potential outcomes related to trade agreements, investment partnerships, security cooperation, and economic policy coordination. However, markets generally respond most strongly to concrete policy decisions, rather than expectations alone. This distinction is particularly relevant for Iraqi Dinar followers. Positive diplomatic developments can improve confidence and support future cooperation, but they should not automatically be interpreted as confirmation of immediate monetary changes. Another encouraging aspect of Iraq's current trajectory is its continued investment in infrastructure. Roads, ports, electricity generation, telecommunications, water systems, and transportation networks all contribute directly to economic productivity. Infrastructure improvements reduce business costs, attract investment, and facilitate domestic commerce. As infrastructure expands, private businesses often experience improved operating conditions, enabling increased production and employment. Stronger economic activity contributes to higher tax revenues, improved public finances, and broader economic resilience. Education and workforce development also play important roles in Iraq's future. Economic modernization requires skilled workers capable of supporting advanced industries, financial services, technology sectors, and manufacturing. Investment in education enhances long-term productivity and competitiveness. Financial modernization likewise includes expanding access to banking services for individuals and businesses. Greater financial inclusion allows more citizens to save securely, obtain financing, establish businesses, and participate in formal economic activity. This broadens the tax base while supporting economic growth. International cooperation can also facilitate technology sharing and institutional learning. Countries frequently exchange expertise on financial regulation, cybersecurity, digital payments, anti-money laundering standards, and banking supervision. Such cooperation strengthens financial systems while supporting compliance with international standards. For Iraq, aligning with internationally recognized financial practices enhances credibility among global investors and financial institutions. Greater credibility may increase access to investment capital, while strengthening economic partnerships. Oil revenue remains an essential component of Iraq's economy, and responsible management of these resources remains critical. High energy revenues provide opportunities to invest in infrastructure, education, healthcare, industrial diversification, and sovereign financial stability. Sound fiscal management helps transform temporary commodity income into long-term national development. At the same time, policymakers understand the importance of preparing for future economic transitions. Diversifying revenue sources reduces vulnerability to fluctuations in global oil markets, while supporting more balanced economic growth. From a monetary perspective, maintaining stable inflation remains another essential objective. Stable prices protect household purchasing power while encouraging investment and economic planning. Inflation management is one reason central banks typically approach exchange rate adjustments cautiously. Foreign exchange reserves also provide an important foundation for monetary stability. Strong reserves enhance confidence by supporting the country's ability to manage external obligations and maintain orderly financial markets during periods of uncertainty. Although headlines sometimes focus on dramatic possibilities, experienced economists generally evaluate broader indicators such as GDP growth, fiscal discipline, employment, banking health, investment trends, productivity, trade performance, and inflation. These factors collectively determine long-term economic strength. Today's developments, therefore, should be viewed within this comprehensive framework. Iraq's continued engagement with international partners, combined with ongoing domestic reforms, reflects a strategic effort to strengthen the country's economic foundations rather than pursuing short-term headlines. If discussions in Washington result in expanded economic cooperation, increased investment, technological partnerships, or financial sector collaboration, those outcomes could contribute positively to Iraq's long-term development. Such progress would benefit businesses, workers, government institutions, and ultimately the broader economy. For Iraqi Dinar followers, the most constructive approach is to monitor confirmed government announcements, official monetary policy statements, and verified economic indicators. Reliable information provides a stronger basis for understanding developments than speculation circulating through social media or unverified online sources. In the short term, this diplomatic engagement may improve investor confidence and reinforce Iraq's commitment to international cooperation. Confidence itself can be valuable because it encourages dialogue, investment discussions, and economic planning. Nevertheless, confidence should always be supported by measurable policy implementation. Looking further ahead, continued progress in governance, financial modernization, anti-corruption initiatives, infrastructure development, private sector expansion, and international cooperation could strengthen Iraq's overall economic position. Sustainable development occurs through consistent reforms implemented over months and years rather than isolated events. The broader message emerging from today's update is one of cautious optimism grounded in ongoing reform. Iraq appears committed to expanding its international partnerships while continuing efforts to modernize its domestic economy. These objectives are consistent with long-term economic development strategies pursued by many emerging economies seeking sustainable growth. As always, responsible analysis requires balancing optimism with realism. Positive diplomatic developments deserve attention because they can create opportunities for future cooperation and investment. At the same time, meaningful economic transformation depends upon consistent implementation, institutional capacity, fiscal discipline, and effective governance. For viewers following the Iraqi Dinar, today's developments reinforce the importance of focusing on the bigger economic picture rather than expecting immediate outcomes from individual events. Strong economies are built through gradual improvements in governance, productivity, investment, infrastructure, financial stability, and international cooperation. If Iraq continues advancing reforms while strengthening relationships with key international partners, the country may enhance its long-term economic resilience and expand opportunities for sustainable growth. Those structural improvements are ultimately more significant than any short-term speculation because they establish the conditions necessary for lasting economic progress. We will continue monitoring official announcements, economic indicators, banking reforms, investment developments, and government policies so you can stay informed with balanced, factual, and responsible analysis. If you appreciate this type of objective coverage, make sure to subscribe to the channel and like the video so you never miss future Iraqi Dinar and Iraq economy updates. Thank you for watching, and remember that this content is provided for informational and educational purposes only. It should not be considered financial, investment, or trading advice. Always conduct your own research and consult qualified financial professionals before making any investment decisions.